That crack in your basement has been there for years. You see it every week on laundry day, the one day you make the pilgrimage to your dungeon-like basement. The cobwebbed light bulb casts its eerie light on it, making it the centerpiece of the room. It doesn't help with the medieval aesthetic, but you've come to accept it. That crack has been a part of your home for decades. It was there 30 years ago when this was your dad's house, and it's even grown with you over the years. That crack represents the legacy you've inherited. It's a part of you that you've learned to see as normal, and you give it little thought. But that crack is not your friend. As you rush upstairs with your basket full of fresh laundry and slam the door before the basement monsters can get you, that crack is almost ready to execute its decades-long sinister plan. That's right. All this time, that crack has been chipping away at the strength of your foundation wall. At first, you didn't see it as a threat. Then, you didn't have time to get around to fixing it. Now, you just don't have the money. Perhaps you'll take care of it yourself someday. But the excuses and the procrastination have only given it time to grow bigger, wider, until that one fateful laundry day when you return to the abyss, only to see sunlight flooding the massive hole where a wall used to be. Okay, so that story we told may have sounded far-fetched, but testimonials like Ben Bard's from Bridgeton, New Jersey, prove this scenario is more common than you may think. Wall cracks can become a serious problem, and that's why it's important to deal with them early on. So how do you fix a cracking basement? In your search for the answer, you'll run into a lot of options, one of which is today's topic, carbon fiber straps. There's a lot going on with this system, some of it good and some of it bad, so let's get into the details. For clarification, the product of our focus today is one of our favorites, CarbonArmor, made by SupportWorks Inc. We will also be talking about other carbon fiber products and comparing the various pros and cons of each. We at Dry Guys have been on the cutting edge of this technology from the beginning, and were among the first in our state to use these products as they became available from various manufacturers. Are carbon fiber straps a good idea for foundation repair? A lot of contractors will insist that you need them, but that's partly because it's the only thing they know how to do or have access to. The real answer is a bit more complicated, and by the end of this video, you'll have a clearer picture. This is a serious step since your house is one of your biggest investments. Here is our checklist of key points to cover. You can skip ahead to any of these sections if you want, although we recommend watching the whole video just so you don't miss any details. Links to each section will be in the description below. We have a lot of information, so let's start. What is carbon fiber and what are its uses? Most of us know carbon is an element found in the earth. An actual carbon fiber is a fiber made from carbon atoms. When people talk about carbon fiber, however, they are usually referring to the material that is made with this fiber. When you weave strands of it together and bind them to each other with a plastic polymer resin, either by using heat, pressure, or a vacuum, this very strong yet lightweight material is born. The way the fiber is weaved determines its strength. The more complex the weave is, the stronger it will get. The resin used to fuse the strips in this weave together is usually called epoxy, but can also be thermoplastic, polyurethane, vinyl ester, or polyester. Sometimes described as the material of the future, carbon fiber has a very high tensile strength, meaning it takes an extreme amount of force to stretch or pull apart. This innovative material, used by aerospace engineers and the U.S. Department of Defense, has several videos that prove its strength. When applied correctly, it's even stronger than some steel products. The possible uses for carbon fiber are many and still being explored. In our industry, we agreed with the many who thought it was smart to apply the technology used for bridges, skyscrapers, and bomb shelters to a cracked or bowing wall. Because of its very high tensile strength, which means it doesn't stretch, it can be adhered to concrete walls to keep them from bowing inward. Today, it's a common method used to reinforce foundation walls. If installed properly, emphasis on properly, they can effectively hold the bowing wall in place. But be aware that the wall will never be able to move back to its original position. How does it work? You might look at it and think, this thing is so flimsy, I really can't believe this will hold my wall in place. It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But watch this clip that explains how it works.
Today I wanted to give you a little demonstration that does a great job of showing how CarbonArmor actually works. I have here some small wooden blocks that I will stack together to represent a foundation wall. The exterior soil pressure presses against the foundation wall and causes it to bend, which creates cracks on the interior of the wall. Now I'm going to use duct tape, which is also quite flimsy, and apply it to the interior surface to represent the carbon armor. Now, as I again try to bend the stack by pressing against it, I notice very quickly how much stronger the stack has become. I can even pick up the stack and apply a lot more bending force than I can when it's on the table. The tape may be flimsy, but it has tension strength, which is all that is needed here to make the wall much stronger in bending.
And if that wasn't enough to convince you, perhaps this picture will. There are three kinds of straps that are common: baked, rigid carbon fiber, which is almost a plate-like strap; baked, vertical carbon fiber strips intertwined with horizontal Kevlar to create a grid strap; and wet layup fabric straps, such as CarbonArmor, made by SupportWorks. We will talk about the pros and cons of all these later. How are carbon fiber straps installed? In the case of CarbonArmor, we at Dry Guys normally use a two-man crew to install for efficiency depending on the amount of straps, and it's mostly the same for other types of carbon fiber strap installations. Step 1. The condition of the wall and how much pressure it's under will determine how many carbon fiber straps are needed and how far apart they need to be installed. Factors like the width, height, composition of the wall, and if it's load-bearing or not will affect this also. The first step is to determine how many straps your foundation needs and where they will go. Most manufacturers recommend one strap 4 feet off the corner, then one every 4 feet thereafter. While this can be a good general rule, it is not all-encompassing, and it always needs engineering approval. Step 2. Armor lock brackets are installed in the rim joist above where each strap will be installed. These are vital since they drastically increase the strength of the installation by using the home's rim joist system. We'll talk about these later, and this step only applies to our CarbonArmor system. No other carbon fiber strap system uses our armor lock anchors, and some systems don't even have an option for anchors at all. Step 3. In order for the repair to work well, the wall should be clean first. We lightly grind the wall where the strap will be installed to create a clean surface and remove any finish or imperfections. Any dust we created by this step is contained by a vacuum system installed on our grinders, along with supplemental plastic hung around the workspace. We also use negative air when possible and recommend temporarily shutting off your HVAC. Then we finish prepping and cleaning the wall to make sure we get the best adhesion. While this should be done in all carbon fiber strap installations, we can't speak for other contractors, but keeping everything clean and contained is important and saves time. Step 4. Before the straps can go on, any existing cracks need to be filled in with a material that won't allow the wall to move back toward the original position. The logic here is that under no circumstances do we want the wall to go back toward the soil. Carbon fiber only has tensile strength as the wall pushes against it, and absolutely no strength in the other direction. We generally seal the cracks with epoxy or grout. We've seen some DIYers and even supposed professionals skip over this vital step, so understand the importance of doing this. Step 5. The height of the wall is again measured so that the carbon fiber straps can be cut to the right size. Step 6. The actual application method is where the installation varies the most among the 3 different types of straps. For wet layup fabric straps, such as CarbonArmor, an epoxy resin is used to bind the straps to the wall. Each strap is saturated with the epoxy on both sides, and it is applied to the wall, rolled out, while squeezing the epoxy through the fabric for a thorough installation. Rigid straps don't need to be saturated on both sides. Instead, they have scratches for adhesion on the wall side, and a thin bead of epoxy is applied to it. Once applied to the wall, the installer uses a roller to squeeze the excess epoxy out. With grid systems, you apply the epoxy to either the wall or the strap first, and then press the two together, and the air is squeezed out with a squeegee. This system has a bit more flex than the plate system, but still no comparison to wet layup. It's easy to see how good your adhesion is with the system and with the wet layup, since you can see the epoxy squeezing through the grid or fabric. It is not so easy with the solid straps to see if you missed a spot. In all cases, straps are installed with epoxy. Each system also uses a different kind of epoxy of the manufacturer's design, which will be discussed later. After this, you should give the epoxy time to cure over several hours. Should you DIY? The thought of a DIY fix is appealing, and the process isn't hard, but it does require special equipment to resurface the wall. There's one thing you must remember. If you're watching this video, you are probably not an engineer. Step 1 of the installation requires careful measurements and some knowledge to know where to put the straps and how far apart to place them. You can take your best guess, but do you really want to leave your home structural integrity up to a guess? Not to mention that all carbon fiber requires engineering and permits. Your wall has failed and therefore falls under engineering and permit requirements. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This also brings up another problem. Do you know the exact cause of your wall cracks? There are many different causes to this problem, and if you aren't addressing the correct one, your system may not respond the way you want it to. Carbon fiber straps may not even be what you need. Always consult an engineer or a contractor who is trained to look for the source of the issue before you decide on a solution. We actually use load calculators to figure out where the straps are needed and how many you need. We know the load your walls were designed for and how much pressure they could be under. We know how to respond to soil changes around your home, such as frost heave, tree roots, and hydrostatic pressure. These are hard things to know for the average DIYer. So unless you know the industry very well and have extensive knowledge and years of experience, you may want to weigh your options and consider a professional. If it's high quality you're going for, we believe CarbonArmor is the highest quality system in the industry, as we'll see later on. But this system is not available for you to DIY, so be aware that you'll have to settle for a system with a lesser warranty if you do it yourself. Lastly, resurfacing your basement wall is no trivial matter. That particular part of the installation requires the right tools, the right touch, attention to detail, and determination. Plus, it can be very messy since the dust will get everywhere unless you know how to properly contain it. When should you use carbon fiber straps for foundation repair? If your basement wall is bowing in the middle and hasn't started to slide in at the bottom or lean in at the top, and if your wall crack doesn't have differential movement on either side of the crack, then carbon fiber straps may be a suitable option. Carbon fiber is also a good choice to consider when you have limited access in your basement, since no large equipment is needed and it doesn't take up space after installation. When should you not use carbon fiber straps for foundation repair? As stated before, if the basement wall has started to slide in at the bottom, lean in at the top, or there is differential movement on either side of the crack, this is not the right solution for you. If you can fit more than a dime in the horizontal crack on your wall, we don't recommend carbon fiber straps. Why? Several reasons. Like we said, we have used these products from the beginning. At first, everyone thought it was a miracle product. And that's when the failure started. For every foot of soil you add to your foundation, you essentially double the load on the original design. When the wall bows in, the soil outside sinks. Often we add more soil to make up for the sinking around the house. Now we are adding tons of soil to an already compromised wall, causing it to bow even more. Now water from non-extended downspouts saturate the backfill soil along the bowing wall instead of properly running away from the home. Rain also hits the side of the house, trickling directly over the struggling wall. Everyone's backfill soil can hold a different amount of water depending on soil type. Since water weighs 8.34 pounds per gallon, how much additional tonnage do you think is being exerted against your walls with every rain? Then, when this wet backfill freezes, it expands like a giant ice jack against the bad wall, causing even more pressure. Now that hairline crack has expanded, and it just keeps going. So let's say at this point you introduce carbon fiber to keep the wall in a permanently broken position. The pressure from outside never stops. They'll tell you carbon fiber is strong, and they're right, but the problem is the cement block itself begins to fail, not the straps. A bow this big, with all the added pressure, is too great for carbon fiber to ever be recommended in the first place. It is beyond the ability of the block to handle. That's also how you have cases where the entire wall tips in several feet from the top. The carbon fiber holds the wall together as one contiguous unit, but since it isn't tied to the house at the top, it falls in at an angle. Be careful with people who try to sell you this product no matter how bad the situation is. This is under-engineering and over-promising. We will now further explain this with another visual. This is a pencil. If you push on the pencil from the top and on the side like this, it can take the pressure just fine. Now break the pencil in half and put it back together. What happens if you push on it from the top now? What about from the side? The pencil bows because it's no longer as strong as it once was and will never return to its original strength again. Now imagine your foundation wall is that pencil. The pressure on the top is the weight of your house. The pressure on the side is from the soil outside your house. And this pressure keeps increasing like we explained before. This duct tape represents a carbon fiber strap on this pencil, which represents your wall. If it's cracked all the way through, the strap does stabilize it somewhat, but look what happens when you push down on it and on the side. Unlike duct tape, carbon fiber straps are strong enough to resist this push, but that just means the wall can fail in other places around the strap, because the wall has no strength of its own left to work with. Your wall is so weak at this point that it will still keep moving because it just can't stand up to the pressure. And then when there is a failure, you think you're protected under warranty, but if you look closely, it says that the carbon strap won't fail. As we've already established, we know the carbon strap won't fail. That's not the problem. It's your masonry, however, that will fail. Most manufacturers dump the responsibility of failed masonry on the unsuspecting installer. Now your home is unstable or even unlivable. Fingers are being pointed, lawyers get involved, things drag on, and you're the one who pays the consequences. Basically, the purpose of CarbonArmor and other carbon fiber straps is to stabilize your foundation wall when cracks are beginning to show. It's a proactive system. It's too late for this solution, in our opinion, once your wall is actually moving. Understand, we do believe carbon fiber is a wonderful and useful product when it is used in the correct application, but that is why we will never recommend its use if you can fit more than a dime in the horizontal crack in the wall. At that point, we have many other ways to straighten and recover your foundation. Beware of the misapplication of these systems. Types of carbon fiber straps. Not all carbon fiber straps are the same. In the search for carbon fiber straps, you'll run into the following varieties as we stated earlier: semi-rigid and almost plate-like straps, grid straps, and fabric straps. Let's examine the semi-rigid ones first. These plate-like straps are laminate products that are indeed very strong on a test bed, but they are a challenge to work with because they don't easily conform to your foundation wall. Your bowed wall is obviously not completely straight. The surface of the wall itself isn't flat either. Now imagine adhering a rigid plate tightly up against that bowed wall while it constantly tries to uninstall itself until the epoxy sets. When not installed correctly, they tend to pop off the wall, usually toward the top. As a result, we have been called in to replace several of these over the years. But there's another problem with these laminate systems. The epoxy used for many of these is messy and thick, like peanut butter. Because of this, it tends to not penetrate deeply into the pores of your concrete wall. Also, the back of the strap has what appears to be scratches for the epoxy to adhere to. This limits the true strength of the system because you don't have as good adhesion as with other types. During the installation of this particular system, it's also nearly impossible to know if there are any voids in the epoxy or air pockets. Now let's take a look at the grid straps. These tend to consist of thin, baked carbon fibers in vertical strips, about the size of pencil lead, with Kevlar woven between them to hold them apart. As you can imagine, on a test bed, it's weaker than the rigid straps, but it's about equal strength when applied to the wall. They fit the wall a little better than the semi-rigid straps. Because of their better adhesion, we prefer them over the rigid straps. The last product is a wet layup fabric strap. These are ideal because they contour tightly against the wall and easily conform to columns and odd shapes. Now here's where CarbonArmor comes in. While we at Dry Guys have access to all of the systems mentioned, we strongly recommend the highest quality system in the industry, and we believe that's CarbonArmor. With CarbonArmor, you're getting the best value for your money, and you know it has the best warranty around. CarbonArmor uses carbon fiber reinforced polymer ribs, CFRPs for short, woven into the fabric. This is a type of carbon fiber that is 10 times stronger in tension than steel and is designed specifically for basement walls. It's strong enough to compete with laminate products and is the highest quality when it comes to wet layup fabric straps. Our two-part epoxy is one of the features that sets the CarbonArmor system apart. This adhesive penetrates the surface of the concrete rather than simply sitting on top of the wall's surface. This two-part epoxy provides a stronger bond between the strap and the wall than other solutions. Another unique feature of CarbonArmor is that it can be installed in conjunction with the Armor Lock system. Armor Lock is a patented product that provides additional tipping resistance when installed with CarbonArmor, making it the strongest system available in the industry. These are the brackets we put in during our installation, mentioned before. Why does that matter? As previously mentioned, you can strengthen the wall and stabilize it, but if it's not connected well to the rest of your house, it's still going to keep moving, only this time it will move as a whole. This often causes the top and bottom of the wall to crack from shearing forces, and your wall will still tilt forward. We don't recommend a carbon fiber system that doesn't give you some kind of anchor, because that's only fixing the problem halfway. Armor Lock straps overlap with the CarbonArmor at the top of the wall and extend tension reinforcement to the Armor Lock bracket on the rim joist. CarbonArmor stabilizes bowing walls, while the Armor Lock system provides supplemental support to the top of the wall, preventing it from leaning. It's important to note this is of special interest if your sill plates have been compromised by rot or insects, even if they have been repaired. Most carbon fiber systems do not resist tipping movement effectively. You can't just not address that part of the problem. Carbon fiber strap advantages. It's a low-profile design that won't take up your basement space and works in tight spaces. It presents minimal disruption to your home and won't disturb your lawn or landscaping. If you want to finish your basement, you don't have to worry about ugly black strips on your walls. You can paint over these systems to conceal them. Just remember to wait at least 24 hours after installation before you do. The installation and cure times are fast and everything is completed within 1 day. There is no maintenance involved after the project is finished. Here is a table recapping all the pros and cons of each system we just discussed. You can pause the video to read it if you'd like. What about your other walls? If one of your walls is bowing, chances are your other walls are under that same pressure and will bow in time as well. A lot of block walls are under-reinforced, and that makes them more susceptible to cracking and failing. We have a mini version of CarbonArmor called the WallDefense strap for these walls. It works just like CarbonArmor, but it's smaller, and its purpose is simply to reinforce the wall before it even starts to crack. As you know from our soil video, the dirt around your house is constantly moving, and the WallDefense straps give your walls the strength they need to hold against that soil pressure. So this mini CarbonArmor system is used as a preventative, proactive measure, and is great peace of mind if you suspect your basement is prone to this problem. The cost of carbon fiber can be less than adjustable steel I-beams, such as our power braces. But unlike what many will tell you, it is not a substitute for steel. The two systems serve different purposes, and each has its place. Know the difference. Get the proper system for your specific problem.